Hello and welcome to this video on how to mirror the iRacing sectors or splits in your AiM Race Studio Analysis software. So to put it into context what I'm talking about, if I open up this screenshot from iRacing, this is taken from one of the new M4 GT4s that was just released in the latest updates to iRacing. I'm talking about this box down here. So I use this, and I'm sure many of you do, to be able to determine how I'm doing on track, how my performance is against my session best, my optimal sectors, all sorts of information that I use to be able to determine how I'm driving. But I also want to be able to see this information as I analyze my data in the AiM software. So what we need to be able to find out is how iRacing determines where sectors 1, 2 and 3 are. So I had no idea how to do this, so I went to the iRacing forums, which are fantastic, and I posed the question, and sure enough, within an hour or so I had an answer of someone said, you're going to find that information housed in the IBT file. So the IBT file is the data file that you log from iRacing, and I'll put a link in the top right hand side to a video that shows you how to be able to gather that. But I want to be able to find that information in the IBT file, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to find that information from the IBT file that I've saved there. Now I've been using this file so it automatically opens in Notepad, but you will need to open this in the Notepad software that's on your Windows 10 machine to be able to get this information. I'm sure there's other software, but Notepad works really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up, and the first thing you're going to see is just a ton of information that's in here, and it's going to be basically all the data that's available in that file that oftentimes gets then developed into the data that we use. But if you scroll down, you start to see certain pieces of information which you can relate to in terms of the cameras and the track and all sorts of information. But as we keep scrolling, what we'll find is that we will see a section that comes up here called Split Time Info. And within that, it tells you the sector numbers, and it also tells you the percentage of that lap where that sector starts. So this information is really useful because now you can start to use this information to build out the sectors in the AiM software. But to do that, I had to create an Excel spreadsheet for myself. I'm sure you can do this with calculators and all sorts of things, but I like to use Excel. So I'm going to copy this information that's here. I'm going to open up this track map split calculator is what I called it, a bit of a catchy name, but it basically allows me to be able to then get the information I need to be able to build the map in the AiM software. So I'm just going to right click and paste that information that we just grabbed from the IBT file, and we're going to start using it to determine where those splits are. There's one other piece of information you need to know to make this work, and that's how long the actual track is. So from a quick search, I think this is available in iRacing, it's definitely available through any kind of search or any search engine, you can find out how long that track is. So I've determined from my research that Donington is 1.971 miles long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in here 1.971. So that's going to break that down into how many meters are in 1.9 miles and how many feet are in 1.9 miles. This is useful, and you'll see in a minute why as we start figuring out how to determine the length of the splits and why that's useful. The next thing we're going to do is we're then going to take this information we grabbed from the IBT file and we're just going to drop it in here. So sector 1 starts at 29.7797% through the lap. So we know everything starts at 0. That's where basically split 1 starts and split 1 ends. So this is where it ends and it goes into split number 2. So I'm just going to type in here 29.7797. So what that's going to do now is it's going to tell me how many meters from start finish does sector 1 end, and we roll into effectively sector 2. So it's 944 meters or 3,099 feet. It's rounded it up, but that's fine because we'll need that for the AiM software. And because we've got sector 2, we'll just pop that in here and we can put in 61.9000. And that's going to tell us where sector 2 ends as well on track. So we've got all the information we need. Now, if there are other tracks, we know that some of the longer tracks, Sebring for example, I believe has 5 or 6 splits, this information will be available and you'll just see 3, 4, 5 here with a percentage and you just add it in here. But this is a simple 3 sector track. So this is what we have. So now I've got the information I need to be able to build the actual map in the AiM software. So I'm going to load that up now. I've got Race Studio Analysis here, and I've got a GT4 file open at Donington National, But one of the things you'll notice if you're familiar with the AiM software is that right now there's no track map available and it's not broken down into sectors. So to be able to do that, I'm just going to pop up here to map. I'm going to click on new, and you'll see this auto-generated map that AiM does normally. Now, for any of you who may or may not know how they do this, they determine this in terms of a straight is green, a right-hand turn is red, and a left-hand turn is blue. But we don't want that for our analysis here. So what we're going to do first of all is we're just going to click on remove all, and that gets rid of any of the sectors that have been created automatically by AiM, because what we want to do is we actually want to put in the data that we've just created based upon the splits that iRacing uses. So we're going to go back to the Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to grab the first piece of information. Now, depending on how you've set up your AiM software, you may have meters or feet. So it's important to have both. I have mine in feet, and you can see the distance here is measured in feet. So I'm going to go back into that spreadsheet, and for this sector I'm going to grab that number there. I'm going to copy it. You can also remember this however you choose to do this, is at your discretion. And I'm just going to pop it in here, and I'm going to click move to. Now what that's done is it's gone from start finish, which was 0, and said this is where sector 1 ends, and there's the cursor has moved to that. And I'm just going to click on the divide, and so that's created sector 1. I'm going to go back here, I'm going to grab the second, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to go back to the software here, just drop that in here, and I'm going to click move to, and I'm going to click on divide again. And now what the system's done is it's determined where the second split is. Now all I need to do is decide how I want these to be able to show up. I like to do red, then if I click on this button down here I can do blue, and I can do red again. Now I'll explain why I've chosen to do that. You can have it any other color combination you like, because basically these says corners 1, 2 and straight, but we're just determining how we want it in just a minute. But what I'm going to do here as well is I'm just going to type in here Donington National iRacing, and then I'm going to click on OK. So the reason I chose red, blue, red is that it also works in the software, and it adds a number 1, 2 and 3. So those are your sectors. If you use the green straight, it doesn't actually number it. And so I just like having the numbers across the top. Again, personal preference. It's nothing that will change the way your analysis works. But by being able to create this environment, you can now open up a track map. And if you open up that track map into certain size, you can see, if I open it up, sectors 1, 2 and 3. Which is useful there. But the best thing that this has also done now is it allows you to go up here and open a feature called split times analysis. And if you click here, now you can see across your session all of those different sector times that you are looking at as you're racing in iRacing. And this is particularly useful because you can use this, you can compare it against others, you can compare it against other sessions. You can see where your fastest sector times were. It allows you to be able to look at a lot of information that is here and be able to then cross-correlate with the information that was housed in the original sort of focus, which is here. And so hopefully this information is useful to you. It's something that I'm going to use a lot as I start looking at sector analysis and optimal best times, and maybe I had different setups or different variables that allow me to work on different particular sectors. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and write in the comments below if there's anything you don't like or you'd like to see differently that is there. And I hope that you enjoy using this feature, and thanks so much for watching.